All right, welcome back everyone to Real Returns, Investor Stories. And Irismar and I are excited this week. We have Jan visiting us to talk about creative financing. Now, this is exciting, Jan. Thanks for joining us.
Welcome. Thank you for having me. It's always great. It's always my pleasure to talk to both Jim and Irismar. Great company to be with, and happy to be here.
Thank you. No, thank you so much. And as we get started, before we dive in, just give us a little bit of your background. When did you start investing? How long has it been? And where are you at now?
Okay, so I'm Jan Carmanico-Reeves of Abode Investments, and I'm on a mission to make real estate investing fun, easy, and profitable. So I started about 5 years ago. Bought my first investment property. It was a student rental, and I can get into that later about creative financing and how I bought that. I've been a business owner for over 35 years. So during COVID lockdowns, a little background, salon owner. So during COVID lockdowns, I decided that real estate investing was really a safer way to go for investment strategies. Being a salon owner during COVID lockdowns was not so lucrative. So yeah, I'm the mother of two grown daughters. One's a nurse in Toronto. The other one is still at home. She's finishing tomorrow teachers college, and she's been hired on by the board, so that's exciting. But of course, going to do her master's next year. But yeah, I'm an avid gardener. I love connecting with the nature out in the garden, and it brings me great peace and joy to create and move around texture and color and balance in the garden. It's a way of expressing my creativeness.
Beautiful.
It's really important to do that too. And I'm glad you shared that, Jan. You know, when we get wrapped up in our day-to-day job, you know, where we're bringing in the money, and then our, you know, kind of a side job or another job, which is real estate investing, we need to really relate to something that we enjoy and take that time, and it's like a de-stress, kind of almost like being in a meditation, just being in the garden or doing something that you do.
Absolutely. It's very peaceful. I have, bird feeders and butterfly bushes, and I have little hummingbirds that come and visit me in the morning when I have my coffee outside, and it's very peaceful, and I enjoy it very much and have for many, many, many years.
That's beautiful. Awesome. So you have your Zen where you can go and relax.
Yes, that's my Zen garden. Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Now taking us back to then that first property and creative financing, because you say you went into student units.
Yes, I did. So my background, I guess, is I always knew real estate investing was a good thing to do. My father owned a 12-unit back when I was in my early 20s, tried to get me into investing at that time. And, being a kid, you say, oh, no, that's not for me, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, my girls were getting older. Life opportunities change, right? So didn't really know what I was doing. That was before any kind of coaching or training. And thought, student rentals are very lucrative. So I went and found one, and then didn't realize how difficult they were to finance. So at the 11th hour, my dad stepped in and gave me a private mortgage. And I used actually a line of credit and some investment cards as a down payment. So so that worked out really well. He gave me a 3-year private mortgage, and by the time that was up, I was able to refinance it. Actually, I don't know if you want me to get into the whole story, the whole loop of how things went, but so
he was just excited that you're buying a building finally.
Oh, he was thrilled. He was thrilled. And maybe we can back up. Previous to that, I bought out. I needed to buy out the house that I was living in, and it was quite a large house. Self-employed, hard to get a mortgage. So that was another thing. He co-signed on the mortgage for me. And so
Okay.
that was the first step, my first real investment. And during COVID, I sold that house, which was about 8 months after I bought my student rental. COVID started. So within about a year, I sold my Taj Mahal house and downsized a little bit. And house hacked, I found a raised ranch that I moved my salon into. So I put in a grade level entrance and, you know, found a great place that had lots of parking. And I'm really insightful as far as renovations, flow, what things, that was the 5th salon that I put together that I designed. And so, you know, I knew about plumbing and electrical and, you know, all those kind of things and how they needed to be set up. So I took the whole lower level of my primary and turned it into a salon. So that way I'm allowed to, of course, write off half my house, which is, you know, a bit of a house hack. And I'm not paying rent for a storefront. So that's a good thing too, right? So from there, I mean, I like to show this on a flow chart because it gets a little confusing, but
Oh,
right. So when I downsized my house, I was not working. I was in lockdown, so I knew I wouldn't qualify for a mortgage. So I went in cash, not knowing what, you know, I was going to get for my house, but it turned out okay. I had to use a line of credit and some investment cards to pay down my original mortgage a little bit, so I would come out at zero. So I came into this new place with no mortgage and used all kinds of lines of credits, credit cards, all these. They keep giving me all kinds of credit, but nobody wants to give me a mortgage for whatever reason, right? Being self-employed. So anyways, I used credit I had available and did some pretty extensive renovations here for the salon, but couldn't get a mortgage on this until I was back to work for at least 6 months. Nobody would even look at me. So eventually, I took out a mortgage on my primary to pay out my student rental. That's how they wanted me to do it. It was, again, still very difficult to mortgage a student rental. So I took out a mortgage on my primary. Now my student rental has no mortgage on it, which made it easier to finance because I was going nothing for however they figured that out. And I also put a HELOC on my primary at the time. So now my student rental has no mortgage on it. And I have a HELOC, a substantial HELOC that I'm going to use later. So I finally put a mortgage on my student rental, and I used that as a down payment for my next property that I bought, which was a off-market mixed-use commercial. And I found it on Kijiji, and I negotiated, right? So I negotiated a 75% VTB at 4% for 5 years. But I also negotiated the first 2 years interest only because I knew I was going to do a major renovation on it. There was one part of it was a 4-bedroom house, and I wanted to duplex that. So I'm going to use my HELOC from my primary to fund that, right? So it's all, so what happened, part of the deal with this mixed-use commercial was that the facade needed to be redone. It was, if I could show you pictures, it was an old, ugly, you know, it was sad looking, right? So the facade was being redone as part of the agreement for the new commercial tenants that were coming in. So what happened was they gave me 2 prices: to buy the property as is or to buy it with the facade redone. So I didn't have a lot of extra capital to fund the facade renovation, and I knew I wanted to do the duplex conversion. So I paid the higher price because I'm thinking I don't have any carrying costs while it's being done. Eventually, I'm going to pay for it, but it's interest only payments at 4%. So why not let them pay for it, right? But they let me
Awesome.
design it, which was really cool.
Wow.
Yeah, so I got to do it the way I wanted. Unfortunately, they were not very organized. There was construction delays, to say the least. So the closing got pushed back. Now, I had refinanced my student rental to use as the down payment. And so I had this money and I pushed it out as far as I could because it was right when interest rates were starting to go up. So I pushed it out as far as I could to do the refi, but I had this cash. And so the sellers came to me and said, listen, our lawyer said we have one shot at this to extend the closing. So what do you want to do? And I said, let's go the max. You know, it was 90 days. I said, let's do that. And so then I took that money from the mortgage for the down payment and I did some private lending with it for the 3-month period, right? It was actually about 4 months out at that point when we were negotiating the extended close. So I knew I had a little bit of leeway either way. So I just jumped right in and I'd been researching some anyways and had some good qualifiers. Anyway, so I that was also very lucrative. I took that money and lent it out for 3 months. So that was great. Had it all back in time, plenty of time for the closing, and then had contractors lined up. So we actually put in for the building permit to duplex on the day of closing.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's that's been completed, the duplex conversion. Those units are fully rented out. I actually have new commercial tenants in. So I've increased the NOI significantly and the value of the building in just over a year.
Incredible.
Yeah,
it's nice how everything works out like that.
It's really worked out well. So I have used cosigners, qualifiers, lines of credits, investment cards, private mortgages, refis for down payments, VTBs, HELOCs for renos. Because I'm self-employed, I have to get creative with the financing, right? And so yeah, I've just dove into finding different ways of making things happen. And over the years, this has been my whole life. I've been self-employed, so it's always been a challenge to get a mortgage for whatever reason, which is so funny because, or so ironic, I guess, because that's a secured, loan, whereas they'll give me all kinds of money unsecured, so it doesn't make, there's no rhyme or reason to me, but it is what it is. And I take what I can get and take advantage of, these 0%, transfers and all this kind of stuff and make it work.
I love that because, a lot of people just, they look at a situation and they look at it a little short-sighted and they don't realize, the opportunities that they have to them with access to credit. And as long as you maintain a great credit
Exactly.
score, great.
Yeah, and my bookkeeper always tells me, like, Jan, you pay your bills so well. Like, I just, make sure that everything's lined up and paid properly. So I have an excellent credit score. It's just for whatever reason, being self-employed, mortgages are not a thing they like to give me. The $65,000 line of credit unsecured, $25,000, $30,000 investment cards unsecured, and I'm a really good at using the point cards and the cashback cards, and I pay the balance every month. So I really take advantage of. And I think being a single mom and having to be careful with money, being self-employed, nothing's guaranteed. You don't have a guaranteed paycheck. So I've always been very careful and cautious with money. I've always kept what I called a broken arm fund, you know, don't over leverage your credit. Things come up, like I got West Nile disease, that, you know, that wasn't expected. So I was off work for a few months, and then started back part-time. COVID lockdowns, who would have, you know, thought something like that would come up and salons would be closed, like, and that was off and on, like, and we didn't know from day to day, right? So I took the opportunity during the lockdowns to initially dive into some coaching, a lot of education about investing properly, you know, to really leverage what you have to get more, about partnerships, you know, joint venture agreements, those kind of things. And then I also took a advantage of a lot of the time to do renovations on my own, like physically, you know, painting and tiling and, you know, all those kind of things. When I put in the grade level entrance, it destroyed my yard. So then I got to do all new gardens and, you know, which is great. Physical and mental work when you're in COVID lockdowns and you don't know, you know, being the sole provider in the family, you know, carrying business and investment properties and not really knowing when you're going to get an income again. So, you know, it could have been very, very stressful, but I just went with the flow and I thought it's out of my control. And I just have to go with it and do the best I can and keep a positive mindset. Yeah. And, so it worked out well. And in the meantime, I met all kinds of great people joining groups like you and Irismar and like-minded individuals that share the same kind of mindset, right? Which just gives me so much energy. I just love it. This group of investors between, you know, a couple of different groups that I belong to, but it's wonderful.
Totally.
I think it's amazing you sharing your story because one, it gives us the insight of the resilience that you share. But one of the biggest takeaway is how do you get it done? Because it's not because you're a single mom, it won't be successful. Just because you're an entrepreneur, yes, there will be challenges and you face those roadblocks, but it's how you got around them. And it was important how that creativity came about and the thinking outside the box. Because I personally haven't checked Craigslist, right? Like, or Kijiji, right? And then you said, oh yes, I found this deal on Kijiji. So again, it's maybe not discounting, it's be really like, how far are you pushing yourself to find those deals that would work for you?
Right. And I think you're smart. That's part of being an entrepreneur and, you know, being in business basically all my life. Very short time that I worked for somebody else and then went out on my own. And you have to be a problem solver, right? You have to think outside the box. It's not, and being the sole provider for two girls, you know, through growing up and keeping them in their activities and giving them, you know, opportunities in life and, you know, post-secondary, going on exchange to Spain, you know, all those kind of things. I always brought them up with there's no such thing as can't. Is, you know, if we want to do something, let's figure out how we're going to do it. There's always a way, there's always a solution, right? And I think that's part of being a business owner is you start your day and you don't know how it's going to go. There all kinds of things are going to come at you, right? And you just have to solve problems. That's part of being a business owner, you know, coming up with solutions for maybe not problem, challenges that come up every day, and you have to find solutions for them. And that's part of creative thinking, right? It's not just black and white, cut and dry. It's you really have to think outside the box and to come up with solutions.
Yeah, and it's really frustrating. I worked as a mortgage representative at one of the big five banks for about 10 years. And I mean, and that was a long time ago that I worked there. That was around the financial crisis. And back then, they were given a tough time to, sole business owners, sole proprietors, and business for self people to get a mortgage. And it was really, really difficult. I understand lately that a couple of the banks have new programs trying to focus on these business owners. I mean, small business owners make up a major part of the Canadian economy.
Right.
And the fact that we're not supporting them and helping them to get mortgages is working backwards.
It really is difficult. Like I said, my whole life I've been self-employed, and it's always been a challenge.
And then
Yeah.
and so, sorry, and just to throw another, and then here you are as a single mother, right? And that, unfortunately, in society, you're penalized for, and it's just really frustrating. And I mean, we have an aunt that in the 60s was kind of a trailblazer, I guess, and she was a real estate investor back then, and a bank wouldn't give her a mortgage back then. It wasn't until she got a job at a respectable, provincially run company
with a
that
T4, right?
well, the credit, no, still with the T4, the banks wouldn't give her one. It was
Oh,
it was the credit union that was associated with this provincial company that she was finally able, because she was a member of the credit union that was employing her, she was able to get it. So yeah, I mean, the struggles that women have had to go through, it's still happening in 2024.
it's very frustrating, but like I said, I've had a lot of practice at dealing with it, and I just kept calling. All the time, different mortgage brokers, different, what can you do for me? What can you find me? And I just didn't give up, because I didn't have a choice. I had, two daughters to support and myself, and I didn't have a T4 income. It was like, do you want to eat? I just I just did what I had to do, and I'm also showing my daughters, what I'm setting an example for them, right? Like,
Right on.
yeah, so there's nothing that they don't think they can do. Like, there's never, my youngest daughter, she goes out and I mean, if you saw her, she's like a Barbie, right? But she goes out, she changes the oil in her car, like, like you YouTube it, right? Like, you just figure it out. Like, they see me all the time fixing things around the house. Like, you look it up on YouTube, right? Like, the dishwasher door is stuck, like things like that, by the time you actually, and I'm not opposed to calling somebody to come and fix it. By the time you find somebody and you get them to come and all those kind of things,
Yeah.
like 10-minute video, you can do it yourself.
Right on. Now, in terms of creative financing, Jan, is there a strategy that you haven't yet implied, you haven't yet used, but it's something that you're excited to try out, as something that you've learned?
I think agreement for sale is very intriguing, especially if it involves, like, maybe a multifamily building that might be a bird project or something. You might have difficulty financing. So if you could take over the asset and start stabilizing process, and then not close on it for 6 months or 8 months, whatever, the deal you work out. I think that would be a really cool project, because then, when you go to the bank for the initial financing, like, it's already stabilized, and you could likely borrow more than, what it's worth, more than what it's going to cost you, and actually come out of the financing with money in your pocket, pay back your investors, and go from there. So that's really intriguing to me. If the opportunity presents itself, I think I'd like to try that.
And I think we're in a great environment right now, where there's some opportunities for agreement for sale as well. So
absolutely,
I'm sure
VTBs on multifamily are huge
fire.
right now. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
VTB's been the new buzzword in 2024.
absolutely. And it's a great deal. Like, so I have another year on my VTB at interest only at 4%. And then I can decide, you know, do I want to refinance and pull out some of the equity, or do I want to let it ride, seeing where the interest rates are, right? Because I've got another 3 years after that at 4% principal and interest. So we'll see, you know,
Oh,
I'll
beautiful.
reassess it. Yeah, I'll reassess it closer to the end of the next year and see what I want to do. But yeah, there.
And
Go ahead.
and building wise, what are you looking for next? What's on your search?
What's so I've always got lots on the go. We're looking at a couple land development projects. I'm actually talking with a realtor in Windsor. I just set up a viewing for Monday. There's a 30 unit, and then it's a fourplex that has 4 bedrooms in each. It's more like a student rental. So it's a common kitchen, and both of them, they're both turnkey. They've both been fully renovated.
Oh,
So
wow.
like I ran the numbers and they look really sweet. So those are my next two. Going to see those on Monday, and excited to see what will come of that.
Very awesome. Well, that's exciting.
And it's same owner. So maybe able to, you know, talk a little bit about VTBs and package deal maybe. So and the funny thing is, like, I'm not afraid to ask for anything, right? Like all they can say is no, right? So why not just ask, right? And you know, Alfonso always says if you're not a little bit embarrassed to make your offer, then it's too high. Right? So I love that.
Right.
I mean, in a respectful way, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah. So
And it's great to really make a good connection with the seller. You never know what else they have or what else some family members or friends might have too. So if that opportunity works out well, and even if the opportunity doesn't work out, but there's just a good rapport, there
yeah.
might be another opportunity down the road.
Yeah, and funny enough, now my clients are coming to me with properties, right? I was talking last night about a piece of land in Riverside that it used to be a nursing home and it's been torn down, and she lives out in that area. And funny enough, we were trying to figure out exactly where it was, and I'm like, yeah, I remember it was right across the street from the apartment I lived in when I first moved to Windsor. So that's on my list this afternoon to look into that, because yeah, that's an interesting opportunity too. A nice piece of land in a very sought after, you know, area, prestigious area in Windsor that there's not much land there. So we're gonna find out
Ooh,
why they, you know, tore it down and haven't done anything with it and what's going on.
very exciting.
Yeah.
Exciting times for you and the Windsor market.
Yes, the Windsor market is still, you know, the numbers can work, right? So, and I have a solid team here. I know the history. I've lived in the city for 40 years or in the area. So, there's something to be said for that too, you know. I think the further you go away from home, it costs you more money in you know, running the properties, just and time too, because you have to start from scratch building your team. And so I thought if I can still find things where the numbers work close to home, then why not, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I love it. And Irismar and I, we love Windsor. We've been there, I think, about a dozen times over the past 2 years. So great
Yes.
opportunities.
I'm looking forward to you guys coming back again.
We will.
What
We'll
do you
definitely let you know. And Jen, for everybody watching, if they want to get in touch with you and learn more, how can they do that?
Probably the easiest way, honestly, Jim, is just Facebook. I'm pretty active on Facebook. Either I have my Abode Investments Facebook page, but most active on my personal Facebook page, Jan Carmanico-Reeves. And I also operate the Motivational Mondays group and host a live event that I've had the honor of having you two as guests on. That's another thing. And yeah, I'm pretty easy to get a hold of and pretty active. So yeah, reach out. Anybody who wants to know more about making real estate investing fun, easy, and profitable. That's what I'm on a mission to do.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate and thanks for giving so much to the community, Jan. It's a great joy and honor of ours to have you here, and best of luck. We can't wait to see what you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. And it's always a pleasure speaking with both of you.
All right.
A pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you.
We'll see you. We'll see everybody next time on Real Returns Investor Stories. Thank you for joining us. See you next time.
Next time.
Bye now.